Alright, so after we've opened up the file, we get the warning that says the elements aren't actually visible. So we'll go over to the 3D view so we can see where exactly this part of the file is in. Alright, so it's right here. So I'll select the CAD file. So first use the select link option and then the select pinned elements tool. Then I'll select this element and go over to the plan. And then I'll put the base offset on 0.2 because it was actually inside of the floor itself, and this way we get to see it. Alright, so now we have a drain right over here and then another one in the ridge right here. So I'll go over to the Systems tab and select the Plumbing Fixture option. Although you should know that before doing this, you need to define your system, and the reasoning for that is the template that we've already selected beforehand is what we started to work with, and we're continuing our project with the same template as well. So let me just see what we have here. We have the flex pipes right over here, and then we have the pipes themselves right here, which if you actually don't have them, you need to create them yourselves and add them to the file, or the piping systems as well. You'll need to define all of these elements in your project. So now I'll go over here and select the plumbing fixtures option. Now we have a couple of drain types that are selected by the file itself, but I'll click on the load family option and then I'll go over to the destination where I've saved the file in. And I'll be sure to separate these families for you so you can later on use them in your own projects as well. So we go over here, open up the families, select the file and open it up. So because the family right now is face-based, we'll go over here and select the place on face option, then go into the plan and for example choose this one as our first point and then this one right here as well. So the point that I should mention once again is that you shouldn't trust the AutoCAD file too much because you'll have to change it in a lot of situations. But that being said, most of these are designed using the help of the designer of the project or the company itself and your contractor. In some places you have some minor changes that need to be made that you could do yourselves, and they don't make any actual changes in your colleagues' works either. But in some places it is absolutely necessary to inform your contractor. So now I'll rotate this and you can see where it's landed. It's right here. Now we've placed the two floor drains right here, but you can change their families and do whatever it is that you prefer and like to have in your own project. And you should also pay attention and follow some rules when you're trying to name the drains. For example, we can open up the edit type and see the name that we've defined for the name of this one. And because this one is actually face-based, we can add an F to the end of the name to know what it actually is. Now you'll need to do this inside of the file itself, and we've already covered this as well. So now I'll go back to the plan. First I want to draw the pipe that we have here. So I'll go over here and put this on detail section and make a cut right here. Alright, then I'll rotate the cut to the left direction, then bring this right to this point and right click on this one and click on go to view. Alright, so here we have our view. Now let's select this and put it over here. After that we'll put the scaling on 1/20th. Alright, then put the plan on shaded and we can see where exactly the pipe goes. It starts from right here, then we have two 45-degree turns. After that we have two more of those, and then we go down here all the way to this point. So the draining in the pipe takes the water and moves it to the roof that we have down here. Now I can put the discipline on coordination as well. There we go. Then I'll select the all option on show hidden lines so we can see all of the lines. There we go. Then put the scaling on 1/10. So we'll reduce the size of the dashed lines. And there we go. Now I'll select the drain itself. Then right click here and select the draw pipe option. Now we can specify the diameter and the length here. But first let's go over to the AutoCAD file. And let's see what we have here in the plan. So this part right here is about 3 inches. Alright, so let's go back here and open up the riser diagram. And let's see what we have is right here. And you can see how this part works out. Alright, so this is actually about the sewage itself. Let me go back to the plan. And here we actually have the size itself. So this one's 4 inches and the other one's 3. Because the space for one of them is just a bit bigger. Alright, and then the part down here is about 5 inches. And if we actually pop back to the riser diagram, we can see exactly where it's talking about. Alright, so now let's minimize the AutoCAD file and go back to the rivets. So the one that was smaller was 3 inches. So from the pipe types that we have in the menu, I'll select this one. Then I'll open up the diameter options and put it on 75 millimeters. After that, we'll go over to the system type section, right click here, and select the drain from the menu. Alright, so now the system type hasn't been defined yet, so I'll right click over here in the plan and select the draw pipe once again. Alright, so this time put the diameter on 75 and draw from the center point of the drain all the way down to this point right here. Alright, then I'll put the plan on fine setting so we can get the full view. After that, I'll put the scale on 1 to 25. There we go. After that, I'll select the pipe that we have itself. And then we can go over to the mechanical section and select the system type. So we have an interesting point right here, and it's that if we actually start from the drain itself, because the system type is set on sanitary, it doesn't actually allow us to change it. But if I divide this part from the drain, then the system type option will be activated, and then I can put it on drain. And now you can see the color has been changed as well. But now I'll select the pipe itself and then connect it to the drain from this point. There we go. First, let me put the settings on wireframe and then connect the pipe to the drain. Alright, and then I'll right click on the pipe itself and select the draw pipe option again. And using a 45-degree angle, I'll draw the pipe like this and end it to this point. Then I'll delete the added parts that's extra, then select the newly drawn part, and we can see in the dimension settings the angle is actually 45 degrees itself. Now I can select the pipe piece itself, then copy it and paste it here next to it. Alright, then I'll move it right over here and then lock it to the rest of the piping like this. And then after that, I'll go over to the Analyze tab. Here we can select the Show Disconnect option, then select the pipe from the menu and hit OK. Now this shows if there are any disconnections in the piping system where we can change it like this and connect it. Alright, then I'll right click on the new piece and select the draw pipe option. And I'll draw the pipe in this direction, just move it to the right a bit. And then let's see. Now a situation like this has happened in our piping. So first I'll select this piece of it and hit a section box so that I can show you exactly where the issue happens. So why did I draw this piece like this all of a sudden? You may see occur a lot in MEPs. And the reasoning for it is that whenever you make a cut in the plan and then you try to draw inside of the cut line itself becomes our work surface. So just like this piece right here, you can come over here and put the cut line right in the center of this so that you won't encounter this issue again. So going back to our original plan, I'll delete the piping bit and I'll also delete this bit as well. And now if I go back to the detail, because it's been cut right on itself, there won't be any issues. Alright, and now I'll select this piece of the piping and then hit create similar, or I can get over to the systems tab and then select the pipe fitting tool, and then I can select the type of fitting that I prefer and then put it right here in the plan. Now it doesn't actually show it here, so I'll go over to the 3D view, and here you can see what it turns out like, although it'd be easier for us to draw it. So back to the plan, and here right click on this and select draw pipe, then draw it to this point right here, and then we go down using an angle of 45 degrees. Then I'll delete this extra bit that's been added because we need two 45-degree angles. So I can copy this rotating section again, then paste it right here and then align it using this line and then lock it right here. Let me just move it towards this direction a bit and then connect it once again until I can see the cross and the circle symbols because they actually symbolize the connection. Alright, after that we continue to the next bit and then right click on this and hit draw pipe. Now when we do this, it deletes the previous piping piece because it cannot connect two different type of fittings together. So first I'll draw this piece using some distance between the last piece. After that I'll connect it to the rest of the piping system. Ctrl Z. Let me just increase its length a bit. Alright, then we connect this with this one. Alright, now let's try once again. There we go. Ctrl Z. Let me just continue the piece downwards and then I'll sort out the connection later on. So I'll move this piece down a bit and then select this and then move it towards the outer direction. Alright, now we have a beam right here, so we need to be careful about that as well. Alright, and then after that I'll select the piping once again and then right click on it and select draw pipe, and using a 45-degree angle once again I'll draw a pipe, then delete the extra bit, then I'll get a copy of the rotating bit, paste it down here, and then using a line I'll lock it to our system. Let me just move it outwards a bit and then I'll find the connection point once again so that we can patch it up. Alright, then I'll move this downward, and because the whole system is connected it moves all together. There we go. So now the water goes through here and then gets disposed of. Now the only remaining part is this connection here. When we connect it down to up, this happens. So Ctrl Z and then we select it from this point, then move it a bit, and then using tab we'll connect it like this. Let's try this once again, and there we go. It's been fixed now. Now we don't get the warning of the connection anymore either. So let's go over to the 3D view and select all of this area here, and we can see what exactly it looks like. Now this bit might look to be too high up, but it's because we hit the architectural floor. So we can go over to the visibility graphics menu, and then from the Revit links we'll put this on the model and activate the architectural floor. And there we go. Alright, so now let us proceed back to the cuts, and we can also see what it turns out like from this angle as well.